Hey everybody, thanks for watching my first official YouTube video. I'm Adam and today I'm going to be making a paddle. So making a paddle is actually a pretty doable project. You don't have to know really all that much about woodworking. The first step is to cut your strips on a table saw. People use a lot of different types of wood for paddles. The main thing is you want something lightweight and strong. I'm using black walnut, white ash, and western red cedar to match this cedar strip canoe I just built. Once all my strips are cut out, I line them up to make sure they all look good before I glue. I'd usually be okay with any water-resistant wood glue to laminate my strips, but I had some really expensive, completely waterproof 2-part epoxy left over from building the canoe, so I figured I'd just use that. So I waited overnight for the glue to cure. Now I'm going to take it out of the clamps and send it through the planer until I have a flat board a little over 1 inch thick. I borrowed this planer from a friend. If you don't have access to a planer, you can find a local woodworker online and call them, and they'll usually plane down something like this for about $10. Now I'm going to cut out the blade in the handle shape. Instead of just tracing this shape I want directly onto the paddle, I trace half of the blade onto this cardstock so when I flip it over there's better symmetry. Once I was happy with the shape of the blade, I cut it out with a jigsaw, sanded the saw marks off the edges, and rounded over the edges of the shaft and the handle with a router. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Same goes with building a paddle. There's probably a bunch of different ways to shape the blade. I'm just doing what works best for me and what I have the tools for. To shape the blade, I want an even taper from about right here down to a 1/4 inch all the way around the edge. I tape this thing together by tracing around the blade on both sides. It gives me a 1/4 inch centered reference gap. Then I drew out a grid with horizontal, vertical, and diagonal lines, which I then mimicked with a circular saw, adjusting the depth to make the cuts more and more shallow as I work towards the shaft. So this is the fun part. Each little piece just pops right out with a chisel, while the grid keeps everything symmetrical and even, and it keeps me from cutting too deep into the blade. I chiseled the grid to a 1/4 inch over the final thickness, then I sanded down to the final thickness with a belt sander, orbital, and by hand. That is it. I'm actually going to be putting a fiberglass epoxy seal on this. I'll post the video to that process here in a couple weeks. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please leave a comment below. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe to my new channel, A Guy Doing Stuff. I do plan on eventually making a series of videos about how to make a cedar strip canoe like this one that I just built. I just have to convince my wife to let me build another one first. Thanks so much for watching and please hit subscribe.